Time moved strangely here, and Blakey didn't know how much had passed between being captured in the maze and standing in a polished stone, beautifully designed hallway in purposely twisted, bowl-like catacombs. The 10 and 11 of Hearts were standing guard. Their uniforms were black with red heart trim and were made of a nicer material and cut than those of the Diamond soldiers. These guards looked well fed, so they were in better shape and larger. They stood at least 3 inches taller than Blakey and the Jack of Diamonds, who leaned on a wall and sniffed some more snuff with an arrogant smile. The hallway was dim with gaslights, flames dancing gleefully as if they knew Blakey's outcome. Behind an iron blast door, a courtroom ruckus of muted proclamations and reactions echoed. It was then Blakey realized this was just an overdressed bomb shelter. Despite its high ceilings and adornments, the space was still dank, poorly lit and suffocating, serving as nothing more than a last retreat. After several more snorts and a deep inhalation with a ghastly bent face, the Jack resumed his taunting of Blakey. "You might as well know now. I never liked you." Blakey retorted, "And I'd remember you if you were memorable." The Jack laughed. "You'd do well to keep that tongue of yours in check. Didn't learn much up there, did you? Take off these restraints and I'll show you all I learned." Blakey raised his bound hands. The Heart soldiers looked to the Jack with willing eyes, but his cowardly streak quickly curbed his authoritative airs. "There's nothing I would like better, but the king shall have his prize." The Heart soldiers returned to their dutifully bored expressions. There were murmurs from the next room, a deadly pause, then a muffled protest.
"No, you can't, after all I've done. It wasn't me. I was only doing what I was told. I followed your orders."
Blakey heard a calm female voice but couldn't make out the words. Then there was a roar of applause. The 7 and 9 of Hearts burst from the room with Vincent in tow. He looked dejected and hopeless. The moment he saw Blakey, he sprang to life and struggled against his captors. "That's him! There he is! He's the one you want!" They ignored his pleas, so he manically switched his tune, pleading with Blakey instead. "Brother, please, help me. Hold it!" The Jack raised his hand. "You know him?" The soldiers stopped. Blakey only stared, not understanding, nor remembering enough to help or condemn him. "Do I know you?" The Jack sneered skeptically and waved them on. The soldiers tore Vincent away screaming, and his pleas faded with them into the long, dark, oddly sloped hallway. Blakey was pushed through the open iron blast door into the next room, not a courtroom at all. It was a cozy, lushly decorated study with bookshelves that ascended as far as the eye could see. The ceiling was not even visible, only shadow with a candelabra hanging all the way down to 10 feet above their heads. A warm fire was popping in an opulent heart-shaped hearth in the corner. The King and Queen of Hearts were standing over a fine but modest buffet, each small dish prepared with absolute decadence. It was artfully arranged food that they would never finish but merely taste and pass judgment upon. The Jack stepped forward and took a breath, ready to begin an epic bout of sycophancy, but the King, back turned, gave him a limp, emasculating wave of dismissal. The Jack left dejected, seething at Blakey as he closed the door behind him. The King wore a suit and tie, custom-tailored, formal military, and surprisingly unpretentious. Only a royal sash, dyed blood red, with a subtle pattern of embossed hearts, defined his status as king. He was handsome, perfectly groomed, with exceptional skin, showing just enough lines to indicate wisdom. The Queen was equally beautiful, almost more so. She had raven hair, alabaster skin, and large, iridescent green eyes. She showed no signs of her age, yet her face had the shape of maturity. She could be 50. She could also be a believable 25. She could be ageless. Her custom-made, avant-garde styled red silk dress shimmered in the light. Her beauty bloomed so mightily when she smiled, Blakey blushed. "Pudding?" the king offered casually. Blakey found himself magically in uniform, but he couldn't remember the costume change. It was a Victorian Royal Guards uniform made of fine black cloth with a gleaming ornate silver chest plate, chess-themed epaulets and cuffs, and completed with protective white gloves. One of the Heart soldiers handed him his helmet. The chess horse head, impressionistically sculpted on top, sported a white plume of hair, smooth and thick, unlike Blakey's, which was now wiry and brittle. His face was much older now, wrinkles multiplying by the minute. His beard and moustache were longer and more curled with artistic twirls. He looked his part, the veteran knight. The 9 and 10 of hearts took their place at the door, still looking supremely bored. Blakey didn't notice the only other occupant at first. When there was the clinking of a teacup being placed down, Blakey turned to the high-back leather chair behind him. The chair spun slowly to reveal the white rabbit. The disheveled cipher in a striped bureaucrat's suit and tie quietly looked Blakey up and down through shaded glasses. Next to him was an impossibly thin table with an unwieldy phonograph player perched on top, extending unsafely over the edges. Was it always like this? Blakey asked himself. The voice was gone. He was on his own. The king called for silence from an already silent room with a wave of his hand. Blakey looked around to see if there might be others hiding, but there weren't. "Well, my most trusted of champions, how was your extended holiday?" The king's tone was apathy masquerading as calm. He did not wait or want an answer, setting down his plate and going to a nearby drawer for a jewelry box. Opening it with a springy snap, he showed Blakey a glistening, watch-worked medal. "For duty above and beyond the call of intent, for heroism without and within, we honor you, sir. Good night with this, the royal decoration of accomplishment." On cue, the white rabbit set the needle down on the phonograph record. The sound of applause bounced around the room with scratchy fidelity. Not knowing where to pin it on Blakey's breastplate, the king handed over the medal and box. "A mission accomplished! Many thanks from all of Wonderland." Nothing was delivered with conviction or belief. "Truly," the queen agreed, licking her lips. They both seemed done and waited for Blakey to leave. The queen forked a bite. "The salmon is delicious." The king agreed with a mouthful. "Mission?" Blakey asked, looking closely at the detailed medal. "While you may have committed some errors in judgment, in the end, we still come out ahead, and that is all that truly matters. So full pardon, commendation, come as you are, leave as you were, do as you please." The king gave a wave of dismissal. "Ahead?" Blakey asked. The king smelled a fig from his plate. "Yes, Alice, of course." Blakey's concern was sparked. "Alice?" The king shared a look with the rabbit and the queen. "Hasn't come back to you yet. The mission, your quest, and you." Then the king and queen seemed quite excited and took seats in high-back oak chairs, as if it were story time. The queen straightened her dress, and the king crossed his legs, fixing his pant leg to not show too much sock. "I sent you to the reel, to procure a singular child." Blakey squinted in confusion as the king clarified. "After I brought the maker here, made Mr. Carroll—" "Praise be." The queen oddly interrupted with an upturned head and hands. The king continued, "Write us a path out." But he proved awfully uncooperative. The queen popped an olive into her mouth with another interruption. Cheeky he was. The king resumed, "He wrote too many paths to worlds I have no interest in visiting, let alone being connected to. So after we brought children here, others wanted what we had, which led to the greatest war, of course. How many years has it been?" He looked to the queen for an answer, and she shrugged. "We must come up with a proper name for it. The greatest war just has no panache. Still, It has been a long war, and in war you need your aces. So I ordered the... No, please don't. The Queen tensed up, shutting her eyes. Sorry, my dear. Forgot the Queen loathes even the mention of it. I ordered you know. Who? Who? Blakey had no clue. You know, that floating feline... Blakey squinted as if the knowledge were visible, just blurry. The King did an impression, opening his eyes wide and smiling big, tilting his head as if he were floating. Find us an exceptional child, one with a certain expertise, I ordered it. And getting anything out of that infuriating sectional pantomath, well, it is a feat in and of itself, but once found, I had you brought to Wonderland. Me? Blakey pointed to himself. Of course, you provided like no other has. Exceptional imagination, first class, grew to be an invaluable asset, which is why you were knighted, which is why I needed more like you, and which is why I sent you to the real. Blakey then knew the progression. You sent me to father a child. Surely producing one here is not an option, the King gave Blakey an incredulous look. The Queen leaned forward and cupped her hand to whisper, ensuring that the card soldiers didn't hear her say, tainted stock. The King acted as if it were a menial task. Father is not the right word. Breed, really. You didn't have to raise it. Just sire a child. Then there was another great surge in Blakey's brain, this one an electric shock, alternating currents of pleasure and pain. His story began spilling out like a confession. I went through to the real and I forgot myself. On his horse, in the Tulgey Wood, a frightening forest primeval, Blakey remembered finding the giant mirror, the one he has dreamed of many times since. He dismounted and touched the glass with his bare hands. The glass gave, first letting his hand in like silvery gelatin, then birthing his whole body to the real. Museum patrons gawked at the oddly costumed knight who stumbled into the Smithsonian gallery, falling on the floor, bewildered, lost, wielding a horrible trench club. Security had been swift in escorting him out. On the front steps, he was handed over to the police, who made sure the bewildered knight left the area with his silly cosplay costume and weapon. The longer I was there, the less of Wonderland I remembered, Blakey recounted with growing clarity. Well, that is why I gave you the dose, to keep your wits. The King punctuated his reply by eating a pastry. More memories flooded Blakey. He remembered taking refuge at what he thought was a tavern.